Welcome to Franklin Almanac. I'm Polikseni Manxhari. This is our 13th edition of Almanac, a compendium of life in Franklin. As always, we'll bring you important stories. What's happened? What's happening? What matters? They say there's a first time for everything. In this episode, we'll show you what some of the town's firsts are, while also addressing a rising issue among our youth. All of this and more on a brand new episode of Franklin Almanac. Franklin High School recently introduced a unified basketball program. Now, for the first time ever, athletes with and without intellectual disabilities can train and compete on the same team. Franklin's unified basketball coach, Leighton, said they were hoping for 12 students to sign up, but received over 40 requests to join the team. The primary goal of unified sports is to equalize the ability level of Special Olympics athletes with our partners in order to promote inclusion. With practices and games already underway, I sat down with Coach Leighton to learn more about the team and how it's changed the culture within the school. Let's take a look. Well, thank you for taking the time to sit down with me today, John, to talk about some exciting events going on at the Franklin High School. So you are the basketball coach for Unified Basketball at the school, correct?
Correct, yes.
Awesome. So I know that the Unified team allows both boys and girls who have special needs and who don't have special needs to play together. So can you tell us a little bit about how the team got started and why?
Sure. So last year we had our first initial unified track team. So we had a track team was our first kind of endeavor in it. And then the states made a big change from this used to be a Special Olympic sport, both basketball, track. And now the MIA has kind of worked as a partnership to bring this and make it part of a high school program, which is a really cool thing.
Right.
Last winter they ran basketball, I think 2 or 3 schools in the whole state ran it because gym space in the winter is very hard to come by.
Sure.
So they made a switch to the fall. And as soon as I heard they were making that switch, I went to Tom, and Tom Angela, our AD, he had expressed an interest in possibly getting this launched. So we met, and he went forward, fought for us on behalf of the school committee, and the school committee approved it, and we rolled it out.
And you've just started, correct?
Yeah, we just started. So we started this fall. Last Friday we had our first blue-white scrimmage. We're fortunate we actually have 40 kids taking part.
Right, I read
phenomenal.
that. And I guess you guys were expecting like 12, so it just exceeded your expectations.
Yeah, so we've basically formed 2 teams, and we very creatively named them both blue and white.
Yeah.
And so we played each other last week, and then we had our first game yesterday at Sharon, so it's up and running.
I know that usually students with special needs are separated from everyone else for different programs. So what do you think it does for these students to be able to play with everybody else?
It's a life changer. It's so cool. These kids have been, these athletes have been competing, with, like I said, with Special Olympics, but it's been separate of the school. Now they're incorporating, like we said at our opening meeting, for the first time ever, every student in Franklin High is eligible to be on this team, regardless of gender, age, whatever it is. It's just if you're interested and you want to be a part of this, you can come be a part of it. And it's really empowering. And for the athletes, you had mentioned the athletes, it's really neat to see them not only socially accepted, but to succeed and be validated for the hard work they put in.
Right.
That now the school appreciates it. When we had our blue-white game, we had the football team that came to cheer them on, the cheerleaders were there, the pep band came, the gym was packed.
Wow.
And it was so neat for them to be able to now perform in front of everybody and be, like you said, be so included. But also with my partners, we have 30 partners and 10 athletes. And the big warning they had is you may struggle to get partners, and we've been overwhelmed. I mean, the kids at Franklin are wonderful, and I can't thank them enough because they make it work. We've teamed them up. What we do is we have 3 partners with each athlete.
Okay.
So they practice together, they work on helping each other develop drills, but it's able to kind of help me as a coach, and then Lisa Berger, my assistant, to really kind of focus on the big picture, and they've been great working with getting their athlete in position to be successful.
A team like this breaks down a lot of barriers and opens the doors for social interaction between these students. Have you noticed this special kind of camaraderie between the students now that they play together?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like you said, it was a major goal of what we wanted. In practice, it's funny, is each practice goes on, I'm having a harder and harder time getting them to come back together and listen because they're having their thing. But it was neat. We had our first away trip yesterday, and just on the bus, it was kind of neat because a lot of the special needs kids have not been on a bus trip before as part of a team. And just the social, listening to music, telling stories, laughing. It was kind of neat to see that. And then next week we have a pasta party, when the parents is hosting a pasta party, which most teams do before the game, and now our team's going to be able to break through and do that.
Wow.
But we've also, in school we've seen the same too. The kids in the hall, shouting out to each other. We had the football team came to the game, so they've been high-fiving kids in the hall, and it's definitely, you get more of a sense of community from it.
Yeah, and they have more of like a sense of belonging now too, because they're able to interact with their classmates and fellow students in school.
You know, absolutely, because like I was joking that they're not the receiver necessarily of all the high fives. They're more the ones giving and seeking people out, and that, which is kind of cool.
What was the goal that you had in mind?
Yeah, it's funny because our first goal was truly inclusion, to bring everybody on board and give every opportunity. But quickly, the athletes and the partners have made it be known they want to become a really good team as well, which is, it's so cool because we had the blue-white game last Friday, and after, there's some moms like tearing up, and they're like, this is so neat, this is such a neat change. And what was so cool is they were like, and the athletes were like, it's not special, this is our game, we got another game next week. Like, for them, they want to win. And it's kind of neat that door's been blown down, and they're beyond it. Here we are, one game into the season, and they're so beyond it, they want to get better at basketball, and they're having fun, and they're not worried about being included. That's already happened for them, which is kind of a neat thing.
Well, I know that this is a new team at the school. In your opinion, do you think that all schools should incorporate teams like this? And if so, how do you think that changes the atmosphere of a school?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the neat thing, like I said, they had 2 teams last year. There's like 16 teams statewide this year in basketball. And from everyone I've talked to, because I coach in girls basketball, I've been reaching out to my fellow coaches about, and just telling them this is something we need to do. It's not want to, we need to do it.
Right.
There's no barrier to doing it. We played at Sharon yesterday. It was a packed gym. Their football team came in to watch. The parents are there. It's a thing that I think if people saw it and got exposed to it, they would something they'd want to gravitate to. Because it's more than just getting them active. It's seeing them participate and seeing them elevate to a higher level. I don't know of a district that wouldn't want that. I mean, budgeting is what is tough, and I understand that. And that's why I mentioned, like, the school committee here was wonderful to us to let us launch it. And that's probably really the only hindrance. It's not desire. There's a lot of kids who want to play.
Now, I noticed that you said this is something we need to do, not wanted. Why do you say need?
Well, we're in this age where we talk about equality, and we've made so many strides in so many different parts of our society, and yet there's still the stigma of mental disability, and it's not something that anyone chose. No one chose one day to be disabled, and there's no need for them to be considered second-class citizens or the other group or separated. To me, it is a neat thing. If we want to treat everyone as equals, this is a group we should consider as equals.
And you think that unified basketball is breaking that stigma? In a very big way.
In a very big way.
Well, I love everything that's been going on in the school, and I hope to continue to see more positivity in this group, and hopefully that, we'll have more unified teams throughout the state.
Absolutely.
But I would just want to thank you for taking the time to come in and talk to us about this, and hopefully we'll be able to work together and see the team a little bit more in action. So thanks so much for coming in, John. We appreciate it.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We want to thank Franklin High School for working to break the stigma of mental disabilities. If you are interested in keeping up with the team throughout the year, you can follow them on Twitter at Franklin Unified. The 15th annual Franklin Harvest Festival kicked off in a big way. With over 130 vendors, live music, face painting, and food, this year's event was one for the books. The Harvest Festival is a time for vendors to display their goods and for people in the community to come out and get to know each other by shopping local. This year's festival once again successfully encouraged people to do just that. We spoke to people making a difference not only in our community, but also around the world, as well as volunteers and staff behind the coordination of the Harvest Festival. Here's a look at the big day. Tell us a little bit about what brings you to the Harvest Festival today.
Well, today we have a special emphasis on trying to help the folks that have been devastated by the flood that's been caused by hurricanes over and over in the South and in Puerto Rico, all the places that are on the news. We have a church organization, UMCOR, United Methodist Committee on Relief, which distributes. There's no more administrative costs after we make this collection and give them the materials to distribute them to the places where they're needed. And Methodism in the United States is very broad spread, especially in the Bible Belt in the South. So there's going to be a lot of local churches that are going to be involved on site. But in addition to the materials that we will send and the things that are available in cash financial support, there's going to be relief teams that will go, and John's been on a lot of these volunteer and mission type teams. Volunteer and mission is local, and then there's been other major commitments to go to New York, to go to Katrina's devastation in the Orleans, Louisiana Indiana area and to go wherever they're needed. The organization is a global organization, but we've been hit hard in the United States, and I think that everybody needs to pitch in to be able to do something about our fellow brothers and sisters that are in need everywhere.
Yeah, so the presence in the Harvest Festival is an opportunity for us, to get the word out about what we're doing, and frankly, what that Franklin as a community is doing. And secondly, so I had two of my neighbors see that we were doing this. They went and prepared their own flood buckets, came here and worked with our youth to actually pack them here a little while ago. And so hoping to understand and see the tangible aspects of real recovery is really important. And so the buckets are meant for essentially the work that needs to happen right after relief. So after a storm, there's an initial phase that we don't get involved in, because that's the public safety officials doing what we call the rescue activity. So it's once the ambulances are gone, the roads are cleared, then the volunteer organizations, and many of them are church-based, but there are others as well, can come in and start the work of both cleaning up and then going to actually restoration. These buckets really support the cleanup phase.
Tell us a little bit about what brings you to the Harvest Festival today.
Well, Ann and I and another member, Vanessa, are the Community Relations Subcommittee. And so one of our goals for this past 2 years has been to really get out into the community. We've been hosting coffees throughout our term and really took the opportunity today to come out into the community and be here for the entirety of the Harvest Fair to talk to Franklin voters and residents and people that have children in our school system.
Obviously, one of the big goals of the Franklin School Committee and our new superintendent, Dr. Sarah Hearn, is really to improve two-way communication. And we really want to make sure that we get feedback from the community. What are the things we're doing well? What are the challenges? Feedback that you can give us, because, we're worth the investment, but people need to see how their taxpayer dollars are being spent, and the more information we give them, we think the more support we'll learn from them, for their kids.
Well, speaking of which, I know you have a suggestions box here. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right, that's one of the forums that we're using, or vehicles we're using to promote communication, is just to ask people if they would like to share some of the things they think we're doing well, and some of the things that we could maybe do a better job, or suggestions that they may have for us. So we are asking people if they would like to complete a form, put it in, and we'll go from there and share it with the superintendent.
So we started with the Downtown Partnership. Carol Harper was the brain behind this 15 years ago, and we started out very small, and we've grown ever since. So I think our first year we probably had about 30 vendors that came down, and a lot of the businesses participated, but now we're up to 130 plus vendors.
I think there's a great mix of entertainment for all ages. We've got music, we've got dance performances. All the downtown businesses are really stepping forward and putting their best, their best products, their best services out there. We've got children areas sponsored by the YMCA. We've got carnival games. Just a great mix for all ages.
I think every year we try to grow this festival, and this year's is the largest, as Beth just said. We have over 130 vendors, plus the food, plus entertainment. But for people who have never been down here, Franklin Streetscape was just completed last year. So anybody that hasn't been here in the last 8 months should definitely come down. We have, brick crosswalks and period lighting, and it just really, I think that's why our crowds, people really want to be downtown and support the downtown businesses now. And I also want to thank our sponsors, because without our sponsors, this event, I think, is really important. We're a nonprofit, and without donations and sponsorships, we can't continue our 3 major events. So I just want to make sure everybody realizes that it's because of the businesses, and businesses like Simon Furniture, families from Simon's, and the YMCA. Scott is the executive director there. So these are our volunteers and the money sponsors as well. Keep this going. So I hope everybody supports the businesses.
Many congratulations to the Franklin Downtown Partnership for bringing in over 6,000 people, making it their biggest harvest festival ever. Posting pictures on the internet and sending them to friends is very common in today's world. But what happens when your child is sending or receiving inappropriate pictures? Sexting is a growing concern for our youth. Statistics show that 80% of teens that engage in sexting are under the age of 18. To address this issue, the Metro West Commission on the Status of Women held a Sext Ed Forum at the Franklin High School. A group of students, parents, teachers, and local residents came together to better understand why this is happening. Dr. Englander, director of the Massachusetts Aggression Reduction Center at Bridgewater State University, says that the short-term emotional impact for teens is greater than the long-term impacts. State Representative Jeff Roy introduced a new bill that would change the criminal process for charging teens. Here's more of what they and other panelists had to say.
In your opinion, why do you think that teenagers want to engage in this?
Well, first of all, because they can. They have technology that's available to them that, we simply didn't have. And this is just another use of that technology. I'm told that sexting is the new first base. So I think that's, to encapsulate it in a phrase, that would be what's going on.
What message are you hoping to get across to these kids and parents?
Hoping to get them to understand the consequences of the action that they're taking, that it is serious business, that we are trying to help. We're trying to educate them on the consequences, and I think the message has to be clear that nobody's out to hurt you, nobody's out to ruin your life, but you have to understand that what you're doing can have that impact on somebody else. So let's try to have an understanding of the behavior we're engaging in.
Well, I think it's important to understand that it's not dangerous like drinking poison is dangerous. It's more dangerous like driving without a seatbelt is dangerous. You can sext and nothing can happen. And I do think that's important for parents to know, because you shouldn't feel like if your child gets involved in this, it's catastrophe and their lives are over. We really don't know that that's the case. We know that there are lots of kids who sext, and there are no particular bad outcomes. So that's the first thing. So don't panic if this happens. I think that it can be dangerous, mostly because of the emotional trauma that kids who have sexted report. It's not so much things like losing job opportunities. Those seem to be very rare instances. It seems to more be about how kids feel about having sent this photo out.
Now, I know that you are speaking today. What is your message to the audience?
Well, I think the message is that in order to engage kids around this issue, we need to be genuine. So we need to talk to them about this. And I think right now, there's a lot we still don't know about this issue, but I think right now we need to talk to them about sexting in the context of sexual behavior. I think that's the best way to think about it as a parent.
Now, in your opinion, do you think that there is a connection between bullying and sexting?
We know that there are some cases of sexting that are coerced or pressured, and that is related to bullying, and it can be a form of bullying. So, yes, that's a big concern.
Now, how can parents get involved if they know that something like this is happening?
Report. I think monitor your children on their social media, have access to their phones, check their phones. A lot of our younger children now have vaults on their phones. It's an app that sort of looks like a calculator that stores all their pictures, and it's password protected, so that parents may just look at that phone and say, that's just a calculator app. When in reality, it's a storage for all their photos. So, you really have to be diligent and have conversations with your children.
What legal repercussions are there, if any, for people who engage in sexting?
So there are repercussions. It would definitely fall under possession of child pornography or dissemination of child pornography. Both of those two crimes are felonies. They carry a very stiff penalty. So the punishment doesn't really fit the crime. It's not appropriate for a 5 or a 10-year felony for a 14-year-old or 15-year-old. So we're trying to approach it in a more educational component, and thus why this bill was put forward by Senator Jeff Roy, trying to get some legs to give the police a little bit more of another tool to use in their toolbox to investigate these crimes and maybe get them before a juvenile judge to, get these children the appropriate help they need.
Now, I know that you are speaking tonight. What message are you trying to get across to the audience?
I think at the end of the day, it's just the education piece. These things are happening out there. We know it. So let's try and be proactive. Let's try and educate our children of the possible repercussions that could happen to them socially and criminally, and attack at that angle.
I met with district attorneys. I met with social workers. I met with a number of my colleagues to say, is there something that we can come up with to regulate this conduct? And that was the House bill that I filed. And what it does is it provides a misdemeanor offense for transmission of indecent visual depictions. It goes in, gives a definition of what that is, and gives police officers the opportunity to charge kids with this misdemeanor offense. It only applies to minors. If you're a 23-year-old adult, you're not going to get the benefit and the protection of this statute. It's really to regulate conduct among minors. So you'll be charged with this misdemeanor offense, but key to that, before you get arraigned, the district attorney can offer you an opportunity to go through an educational program to learn about the consequences of what you're doing. And if you successfully complete this program, you will never be charged with any offense. You won't have anything on your record. If you don't, then the police can proceed and charge you with the offense.
I think the most important thing about issues like sexting, and this is true for many different issues around social problems and digital technology, is really to talk with your kids. Tell them what interests you about it, what worries you about it, what you're thinking about. Ask them their opinions. Ask them what kinds of things they've heard about at school. Ask them if they know their friends have gotten involved in any of this. And if they say, oh yeah, I have a friend who did this, or got in trouble, or had a problem with her boyfriend, well, how would you handle it if somebody asked you for a photo like that? I mean, it's really important, I think, not to be too upset when your children ask you questions about these kinds of behaviors. Instead of being upset, you need to solicit information about what they're thinking about and how they're looking at these problems and how they would address them. And you don't have to have all the answers, and they don't have to have all the answers, because when you have those kinds of conversations, you're showing them that this is sort of an ongoing thing, that you're going to think about it. Maybe you'll hear about a case and you'll ask them their opinion about it. You go to a talk like this and you ask them their opinion about it. And, it's nobody needs a solution right now. What you need is a conversation.
Sending a picture of yourself may seem harmless, but that picture could come back to haunt you. If you don't want to share it with everybody, don't send it to anybody. If you look up the word vulnerable, weakness, helpless, and powerless are some of the words that come up. As kids, we are taught to be strong, not weak. However, there is a power to being vulnerable, and once in a while, the state of mind should be embraced. Vulnerability pushes us out of our comfort zone. It changes us mentally and physically, but most importantly, it's a great reminder that we are human. We are able to get deeply in touch with our emotions and reflect on what brought us there in the first place. From this moment, we are able to return with a clear head, reminding ourselves of our priorities, and in turn, we rise up again with more confidence than ever before. Vulnerability helps us put ourselves first and gain a better sense of self. If you are feeling vulnerable right now, you are on your way to a better you, so embrace it. This wraps up our 13th edition of Franklin Almanac. As we continue to bring you more stories, feel free to email us at almanac@franklin.tv and let us know what you'd like to see. We'd love to hear your story ideas for our next episode. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. For Franklin Almanac, I'm Polikseni Manxhari.